So everybody needs to print a worksheet or a workbook here and there, and so it's important to know how to do so effectively and without wasting a bunch of paper on mistaken prints. So let's zoom out and see what we're working with here. I'm just using the control button and my scroll wheel to zoom out. Here's just a big long ugly table and the little canvas. Okay, so let's look at the print preview here. You'll see we have 6 pages. First page is kind of the first part of the table, and we're cutting off a little bit of the canvas. Just scroll down through the table here, and the last part of the canvas. So another way to look at that is with the page break preview mode down here. So I'll click on this, and you'll see that these blue lines indicate breaks between pages, and you can slide them around. So here's page 1, goes down to page 2, all the way down to page 5, back up to page 6. So this is actually a pretty slick feature, and I use this a lot to really set the page breaks explicitly. So let's do this. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the entire table. I've clicked Control A twice to select the table, and so this is what I want the page breaks to be set at. And so this is where I want the page to be printed. And so this is what I want the print area to be, just the cells that I have selected this table. Okay, and so we want to also print the canvas as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to select all of these cells here. Note that I have some overlap. These cells are intersecting, these ranges are intersecting. And I'll click Print Area, Set Print Area. Okay, so you can see here a little vague, faint page 1. Okay, so page 1 is this right here, and then you can see also page 6 is this right here. So these are overlapping. And then we got page 7 over here. I'm just going to drag this line over, so we just want page 6 to be on one page. Now let's go back and look at the print preview. So just like we selected, here's just the table being printed on page 1. Scroll down, and page 6 has the overlapping as well. So these cells are being printed twice. And that's okay, because that's what we wanted. Now I also want to talk about headers and footers and printing multiple sheets. Okay, so let's talk about headers and footers first. Go down here and use your page layout view. So you can see you have a section for your header up here. You can type whatever you want in there. When you scroll down, here's your footer. Real simple. Now another way to get to the header and footer is through the dialog box, and I prefer this method. So go up here to your page setup and hit header footer, and so you can do your headers and footers here. I like the custom header dialog best though. We have an explicit section for left, center, and right. And you have these nice easy buttons that will automatically type in the keywords for you if you want to insert the page number and the number of pages. Let's separate that with a slash. We'll put the file path here in the center box, and we'll use training workbook in the left section. Okay, so you can see it types it here into this view. Now if you get out of this view, you can't see that anymore. So note that sometimes it's kind of difficult to remember to get back to the footers and headers that way, but page layout view is an easy way to look at it. Now, similar to headers and footers, but not quite the same, are rows and columns that you want to have printed all the time. So if you go to the Sheet tab here, rows to repeat at top, columns to repeat at left. You can have some of your rows on your worksheet printed at the top of every page. Okay, so let's do that here. I'm just going to select these first 4 rows. And so all of these rows are going to be printed on the top of every single page. Okay, so now let's click Print Preview. So look at that. We have our header and footer up here, page number, etc. And here are the 2 rows that I selected, or the 4 rows, excuse me, that I wanted to print at the top of every page. Now, why is it only printing the first 2 columns of these first 4 rows that I selected? That's because the page break, the print area that we selected, is just 2 columns worth, and we're not going to print extra stuff outside of those 2 columns. So we'll scroll down through the rest of these sheets. They all have the rows at the top and the headers. And here's the last sheet, and it's got all of the rows, or excuse me, all of the columns of the first 4 rows that we wanted to repeat. Now, going back to the header and footer, one last thing that I do want to mention is you can select different odd and even pages and a different first page. So if you want a different header on the very first page, or maybe no header on the first page, you can select this box and specify the changes you want. So let's go back to your normal view here. And I want to talk now about printing multiple sheets. And this may be multiple sheets, but not the whole workbook. So let's go up to File, Print. Okay, and so you'll see here we got settings. Print active sheets, print entire workbook, and print selection. Okay, so printing the entire workbook is obviously the whole workbook, every sheet in the workbook. Printing the selection is just the cells that you have selected. And printing active sheets is probably my favorite, my most used feature here, because you can multi-select sheets. This is an important fact to note. So if you want to print just sheets 1 and 2, I want to click on sheet 1 and 2 while I'm holding Control. And now let's go back to print, and we got the preview here. So here's just sheet 1, the print area that we've selected in sheet 1. Remember, here's the 6th sheet. Now the 7th sheet is sheet number 2, worksheet number 2 in the workbook.